Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Hoi. I've realized something. It's very hard to change people. Today, while I was at work, I've met a client whom I've met before a long time ago when I was still a newbie in this nursing gig of mine. Without going into too much details, this client of mine, he was an ex-IV drug user, and you know how it is with drug addiction. It's a terrible, terrible disease that I don't think is being talked about enough until you've worked in this industry and until you've met these people with these problems. You're not going to understand how addiction works. So yeah, like I was saying, it's very hard to change people. And I know this for a fact because it was hard to change myself. When you work in the healthcare industry long enough, you realize that the majority of your client base is actually the same people. It's the same people who ends up using the healthcare system over and over again. It's the same people. And I'm not saying this out of hate or judgment or anything like that. I'm just saying it's very hard to change people because if you look at yourself, you think about that time in your life where you've changed yourself in some way or another. It's pretty much damn near impossible. I can say that when I was in high school, it was damn near impossible to change my mindset, to change how I do things. I was so dead set on what I was doing, and my parents, my friends, my teachers, they couldn't persuade me otherwise. So what did I do as a youngster in high school? Like a lot of teenagers, I stumbled across pornography at a very young age. It must have been around 11 or 12 that I discovered porn. One day when my mom was in the kitchen cooking something, I jumped on her computer and, like any curious teenagers, I searched up how to how does a man and a woman have sex? That's what I typed in. Innocent enough, those sort of questions could very easily be answered by an understanding adult. But left to my own device, I discovered the portal to hell, and for the next 10 years of my life, I was battling this secret battle that no one knew about, besides myself and some of my closest friends today. I don't think I have openly said to any of my close friends that I was struggling with pornography at that time, because we all thought it was the normal thing that you boys do. I remember when I first came into high school, the first day of class, all the boys were, I don't know, gassing each other up to ask these girls out, ask these girls to be their girlfriends. That's what boys do. That's what kids do. When you first go into high school, you have this big group of kids your age, all peer pressuring you into doing these stupid things. And of course, amongst that were kids bringing their phones to class and playing porn videos during class time. in the back of the class, in the toilet. Everyone was playing porn on their phones, and there was no escaping it. Like you have to see it. And keep in mind, I was watching porn before I came into high school, so it was nothing new to me. But I can understand now why it's so hard for young men out there to not be sucked into this trap. And so my high school year, I did not peak in high school. I probably was at the lowest point of my life during high school. I was depressed. I was self-harming. I was watching porn anytime that I could get my hand on porn. Even at work, I watched porn while I was at work. We used to sell sort of like adult magazines in the grocery store that I was working at. It's more like a small convenience store at the end of the street. It was near the school as well, so I worked there for 3 or 4 years, and we used to sell adult magazines. And at the end of every month, all the magazines that were not sold, we had to record that on a piece of paper and then send it back to the distributor. I don't really understand how it works, but yeah, like any stock that you don't sell, you have to record it and you return it to the distributor. And sometimes I would sneak in while we were doing the returning of the magazines, and I would actually chuck a few of them into the waste container, and then I lied to my managers. I told them I was gonna empty the trash. So at the counter, there's like a sort of like a bin, a carton box that you put all the recyclable waste in there, papers, boxes, cigarette packets, you put them all in there. And I would tell my bosses while I was doing the counts that I was gonna go out and empty the trash because the box was filling up. So I would go into the back and I would actually pick out those magazines and I would hide them somewhere so that at the end of the day, when I finished the shift, I could go back and collect those magazines and bring them home. I'm not proud to say this, but yeah, I was that addicted, and I would do anything to get my hands on erotic materials, because back then as well, I didn't have internet data on my phone, so that means during times in which I was away from home, I couldn't go on the internet, so I would use these magazines. It sounds a bit old school, but you know, when there's a will, there's a way, and your mind is such a powerful thing. When you're so hooked on something, you would do anything to get a hit of that quick dopamine rush. And for me, my drug of choice, my vice, was porn. And yeah, even though I did not have free internet access and unlimited access like a lot of my peers, because my parents, they were pretty strict and they didn't want me to have internet data on my phone. So that's what I got to deal with. I was very inventive. I would save images on my phone as well. And I was a complete loser back then. Thinking back about my childhood, I was not athletic. I was overweight. I was staying up late. I didn't eat very healthy food. But it's very hard to change yourself, so I can understand why my patients always come back to the hospital. You discharge them, a few days later, they present again to the emergency department. You thought you've done everything for them, you've done all the referrals, You've given them all the education that they may require. You encourage them to be self-sufficient and to look after themselves, and yet they return to their institutionalized state again, over and over again. So I understand why they do that. It's very hard to change yourself. It's very hard. And I can extend this to religion, to politics, to worldview. It's so hard to change people's opinions. I used to go on a date with this girl at this exact spot, at this skate park. And yeah, she was a total left-wing environmentalist kind of person. She was very opinionated, and yeah, it's very hard to talk to her because I couldn't get her to consider my point of view, to consider the potential benefits of religion, of family, of capitalism, of starting your own business. Yeah. I don't know how to help these people, man. I guess what worked for me in the past, what got me to where I am today, it was because of some strong emotions, real talk. To get myself to change, I had to go through several mental breakdowns. I have attempted suicide twice, and both times I realized that I cannot be myself again, because that will lead me back to the same spot. And I think for a lot of my patients, what they need is some major event, some major revelation. You see, like people converting to different religions, people coming to know Christ, people coming to know Allah and reading the Quran. It's all something to do with guilt. People felt ashamed. People felt convicted. It's all guilt, man. Like, I know all of my Christian friends, they became Christians because they felt a deep sense of guilt. And it's a strong emotion. And I think for any change to occur, there needs to be a major event in your life. I do not wish harm upon anybody, but I do believe in one thing, and that is God's will. If God wills it, then it's meant to be. Maybe God allowed bad things, these tragedies, people getting into the lowest point in their lives, people on the edge of suicide, people contemplating suicide. I think God wills it because He knows there's something good that will come out of it. And I do not wish harm upon anybody. I do not wish anybody to have to go to that point where they felt like they needed to end their lives. But if it's in God's will, then it's meant to be. And I thank God for that. I thank God for the fact that I've attempted suicide twice, because I wouldn't have been here without those events. Anyways, I better wrap this video up. It's getting cold. I just wanted to make a quick video while I'm out walking, because I'm on an early shift again tomorrow and I need to go for a walk before I go home and go to sleep. It's hard for me to fall asleep when I have a million things running through my mind, so I need to get that off my chest. If you're still watching, I hope you're doing well. Stay strong and God bless, and I'll see you next video. Peace.